Close quote. However, partly through the influence of science and science fiction, most people today, in the United States at least, reject this proposition, for reasons, I think, essentially stated by the ancient Greek philosopher Chrysippus, who said, "For any human being in existence to think that there is nothing in the whole world superior to himself would be an insane piece of arrogance." Close quote. But the simple fact is that we have not yet found extraterrestrial life. We're in the earliest stages of looking. The question is wide open. If I had to guess, especially considering our long sequence of failed chauvinisms, I'd guess that the universe is filled with beings far more intelligent, far more advanced than we are. But of course, I might be wrong. Such a conclusion is at best based on a plausibility argument, derived from the numbers of planets, the ubiquity of organic matter, the immense timescales available for evolution, and so on. It's not a scientific demonstration. The question is among the most fascinating in all of science. We are just developing the tools to treat it seriously. Perhaps the clearest indication that the search for an unmerited privileged position for humans will never be wholly abandoned is what in physics and astronomy is called the anthropic principle. It would be better named the anthropocentric principle. It comes in various forms. The weak anthropic principle merely notes that if the laws of nature and the physical constants, such as the speed of light, the electrical charge of the electron, the Newtonian gravitational constant, or Planck's quantum mechanical constant, if these had been different, the course of events leading to the origin of humans would never have transpired. Under other laws and constants, atoms would not hold together, or stars would evolve too quickly to leave sufficient time for life to evolve on nearby planets, or the chemical elements of which life is made would never have been generated, and so on. Different laws, no humans. There is no controversy about the weak anthropic principle. Change the laws and constants of nature, if you could, and a very different universe may emerge, in many cases a universe incompatible with life. The mere fact that we exist implies, but does not impose, constraints on the laws of nature. By contrast, the various strong anthropic principles go much further. Some of their advocates come close to deducing that the laws of nature and the values of the physical constants were established, don't ask how or by whom, so that humans would eventually come to be. Almost all of the other possible universes, they say, are inhospitable. In this way, the ancient conceit that the universe was made for us is resuscitated. To me, it echoes Dr. Pangloss in Voltaire's Candide, convinced that this world, with all its imperfections, is the best possible. It sounds like playing my first hand of bridge, winning, knowing that there are 54 billion, that is 5.4 times 10 to the 28th, possible other hands that I was equally likely to have been dealt, and then foolishly concluding that a god of bridge exists, who favors me, a god who arranged the cards in the shuffle with my victory foreordained from the beginning. We do not know how many other winning hands there are in the cosmic deck, how many other kinds of universes, laws of nature, and physical constants that could also lead to life and intelligence, and perhaps even delusions of self-importance. Since we know next to nothing about how the universe was made, or even if it was made, it's difficult to pursue these matters productively. Finally, even if the universe were intentionally created to allow for the emergence of life or intelligence, other beings may exist on countless worlds. If so, it would be cold comfort to anthropocentrists that we inhabit one of the few universes that allow life and intelligence. There's something stunningly narrow about how the anthropic principle is phrased. Yes, only certain laws and constants of nature are consistent with our kind of life, but essentially the same laws and constants are required to make a rock. So why not talk about a universe designed so rocks could one day come to be, and strong and weak lithic principles. If stones could philosophize, I imagine lithic principles would be at the intellectual frontiers. There are cosmological models being formulated today in which even the entire universe is nothing special. Andrei Lind, formerly of the Lebedev Physical Institute in Moscow and now at Stanford University, has incorporated current understanding of the strong and weak nuclear forces and quantum physics into a new cosmological model. Lind envisions a vast cosmos, much larger than our universe, perhaps extending literally to infinity, both in space and time, not the paltry 15 billion light-years or so in radius and 15 billion years in age, which are the usual understanding. In this cosmos there is, as here, a kind of quantum fluff, in which tiny structures much smaller than an electron are everywhere forming, reshaping, and dissipating, in which, as here, fluctuations in absolutely empty space create pairs of elementary particles, an electron and a positron, for example. In the froth of quantum bubbles, the vast majority remain submicroscopic. But a tiny fraction inflate, grow, and achieve respectable universehood. They are so far away from us, though, much farther than the 15 billion light-years that's the conventional scale of our universe, that if they exist, they appear to be wholly inaccessible and undetectable. Most of these other universes reach a maximum size and then collapse, contract to a point, and disappear forever. Others may oscillate. Still others may expand without limit. In different universes, there will be different laws of nature. We live, Lind argues, in one such universe, one in which the physics is congenial for growth, inflation, expansion, galaxies, stars, worlds, life. We imagine our universe to be unique, but it is one of an immense number, perhaps an infinite number, of equally valid, equally independent, equally isolated universes. There will be life in some, and not in others. In this view, the observable universe is just a newly formed backwater of a much vaster, infinitely old, and wholly unobservable cosmos. If something like this is right, even our residual pride, pallid as it must be, of living in the only universe, is denied to us. But if something like Lind's cosmos is true, there is, amazingly, still another devastating deprovincialization awaiting us. Our powers are far from adequate to be creating universes any time soon. Strong anthropic principle ideas are not amenable to proof, although Lind's cosmology does have some testable features. Extraterrestrial life aside, if self-congratulatory pretensions to centrality have now retreated to such bastions impervious to experiment, then I'd say that the sequence of scientific battles with human chauvinism seem to have been, at least largely, won. The long-standing view, as summarized by the philosopher Immanuel Kant, that without man the whole of creation would be a mere wilderness, a thing in vain, and have no final end, is revealed to be self-indulgent folly. A principle of mediocrity seems to apply to all our circumstances. We would not have known beforehand that the evidence would be so repeatedly and thoroughly incompatible with the proposition that human beings are at center stage in the universe. But most of the debates have now been settled decisively in favor of a position that, however painful, can be encapsulated in a single sentence. We have not been given the lead in the cosmic drama. Perhaps someone else has. Perhaps no one else has. In either case, we have good reason for humility.